Welcome to the Irresistible One podcast, your place to learn how to attract the right man this year with confidence and ease. I'm your host, Madeline Charles, and I have to let you know about something really exciting before we dive into today's episode. I just recently hit a major milestone here on the Irresistible One podcast. We surpassed 500,000 downloads. Excuse me, what? On this little podcast, which blows my mind. So, we need to have a proper celebration. I love an excuse for a good party. And what better reason to gather our international Irresistible Woman community for a behind the scenes look into the podcast, some of my biggest lessons, learnings, the topics and themes that you guys have loved the most over the years, and just some fun prizes and giveaways. And I've got some cool things up my sleeve. So I want you to stay tuned because we are going to be announcing full details for it, but you can go ahead and save the date right now. So we are going to meet live on Zoom August 18th, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And if you want to make sure you're getting reminders for that and all that good stuff, message me on Instagram, come into the Irresistible Woman Facebook community, get on my email list, all the things in the show notes just to make sure you have the link to join us in a couple weeks when we gather together. It's going to be really cool. If the podcast has impacted you in any way, whether this is your first episode or you've been tuning in weekly for years, I want you there because this milestone wouldn't be possible without you. And the podcast is such a one-way transmission, right? It's like me talking to you, but I would love to see you and feel you and connect with you. So I really hope that you mark your calendar right now and join us because it's going to be super special. Okay. Today's episode, like so many, is inspired by a recent client conversation. And when I think about, gosh, how have I pumped out a weekly podcast episode for the past many years, it's often because I have my ears and eyes open to what my clients and women in my community are coming to me for, what they're asking, what they're seeking. So today's episode I know is going to be really relevant for you because anytime I have one client asking me about something, I know it's like, there's probably going to be a few more ladies in my audience who are going to connect with this. So I want to talk about what happens when your desire outgrows your identity. And this is going to be so applicable to you. If you've ever found yourself in this thought process of like, why am I still getting triggered? Why are certain things still bothering me in my love life? I thought I'd already healed this. I thought I had already worked through it. Shouldn't I be past this by now? I want to help reframe the way you are thinking about those activating, potentially triggering moments so that you don't feel like there's something wrong with you. You don't feel like this is an indicator that you're behind or things aren't working. And instead, I want you to see how your desire has perhaps evolved faster than your identity. And that's not necessarily an issue. It's a really good problem to have. And we will walk through what you do with that. So I recently had a client come to me on a call and she was like, listen, I'm almost embarrassed to share about this, but I saw someone on social media announce an engagement and I immediately felt a little bit triggered. I felt envious. And then she had this secondary thought process that was like, gosh, I can't believe this is bothering me. Like, I thought I was over it. I've already done so much work. Like, should I be concerned that I'm bothered by this? Like, at this point in my growth journey, wouldn't it make sense that those types of things wouldn't rub me the wrong way anymore? And it was really interesting to see how quickly she turned that initial feeling into something that meant that like there was an issue here, that something was wrong with her. And I think a lot of women do this where it's not just seeing a happy couple out and about or something on social media or hearing your friend talk about how she just went on a great date or whatever it is. Like the event itself isn't actually the thing that's super triggering for you. It's really more so about what we make the trigger mean about us. So I feel like there's this hidden expectation of healing and working on ourselves where we start to feel like, okay, if I work on myself, then I should become emotionally untouchable. Like I should just have this like shield up where nothing bothers me and I'm cool as a cucumber all the time and I never compare myself anymore. I don't get jealous. I'm supposed to never feel disappointed. I'm just going to be like this Zen secure chick who is just chill and easygoing and like things just ping off of me. And yes, do we want to get to a place where more often than not, the things that used to really rattle you are more of just like a little ping instead of a whole spiral, absolutely. We want to see that progression. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but as a human on this planet, you are never going to be fully arrived and healed and complete to the point where things don't bother you anymore. So I think it's also really important to have just a realistic expectation of ourselves. And when we talk about healing, growing, working on ourselves, it's never with the objective of getting to this point where we don't feel things and like we just are beyond our human experience. And instead, we can feel our feelings. We can have things come up that, you know, poke at us, push our buttons, and we can address it in a more empowered way so that we don't spiral. We don't create a meaning that we're behind, something's wrong with us. And instead, we can ask different questions that unlock different answers and unlock new insights to help us propel forward in our growth. So, the question we usually ask when something activates us or triggers us is like, oh, how do I stop feeling this? This is so uncomfortable. What's wrong with me, right? We kind of personalize it and then we start berating ourselves, shaming ourselves. But instead, I want you to ask, why am I still dealing with this? I want you to go beyond that question to say, what is this moment revealing? So we often start with like, how do I stop this feeling? How do I numb, distract, avoid, stuff it down in order to shift out of the emotional intensity? And then we often get to that question of, again, like, why am I still dealing with this? What is coming up for me that this reminds me of? Oh, this is just like the last guy I dated, or gosh, this reminds me of when I was younger. Like we can often trace back old emotional moments from our past that are being brought into our present day experience that are creating that emotional reactivity. But again, the more interesting question, the more impactful question is, what is this moment revealing? Because you probably know that as you're experiencing triggers and activations, it usually has very little to do with the actual situation in real time. And it has so much more to do with, oh, I think that this is showing me there's an incongruence in who I am and what I've been tolerating, or who I'm becoming and what I've been allowing myself to expect. Or, oh, there's an old story that has been stuffed down somewhere inside of me that still is holding on to the belief that I don't get to have what I want. Maybe there's an issue with my age. Maybe I'm uniquely disqualified from having my desires, whatever it is. And when we can look at it like that, we're like, oh, I'm getting triggered because there's a part of me that's asking to have some attention. It's like trying to flag me down through creating an emotional reaction. It wants some airtime, it wants some space to be heard and felt. And if I can get out of my own way and no longer get wrapped up in my stories about like, I shouldn't be feeling this, what's wrong, it's so bad, da, 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 and instead be like, huh, what is this trying to teach me? What is this trying to tell me? Oh, could it be that my desire is outgrowing my identity? So here's what I mean by this. I want you to imagine a woman who years ago stopped believing that love was available to her. And it probably wasn't this like big declaration. It probably happened in some just quiet, subtle moments that compounded into a new belief. Maybe this woman poured herself into her career. She just always stayed busy. And she stopped allowing herself to imagine marriage and partnership because it just felt too painful to be in that gap of like, when is it going to happen? And why is it taking so long? And all of those discouraging questions we can loop in. And if she had seen an engagement announcement back then, it probably wouldn't have really activated her at all because there wasn't much openness inside of her. And in fact, that desire for love was shoved so far down that it wasn't even on her radar. Now, imagine that same woman years later. She's focused on herself. She's grown. She's softened. She trusts herself now. She has allowed herself to really own her desire for partnership. She can picture herself in that beautiful relationship. And so when she sees that same engagement announcement, something in her is getting stirred up. Her heart has recognized that this is something that it wants. And that moment of recognition and activation can feel really uncomfortable because your desire is like ping, ping, ping. Ooh, I think there's something here for me. Oh, this is showing us something that we want. It's showing us that this desire is still alive. It's showing us that this is something important to us. And that is really beautiful information and confirmation. It's confirmation of, oh, yeah, this is still something that is important to me. And I think in a world where a lot of the women I work with, it's so easy to slip into just busying ourselves, distracting ourselves, burying ourselves in hobbies, friends, work, family, whatever, to avoid the discomfort of really facing how deeply we want love. Having an uncomfortable moment where you're like, whoo, I'm really feeling that. Wow, I wasn't expecting to have such a strong reaction. I don't want you to necessarily take that as a bad thing or like you're reverting back to a previous version of yourself that's less healed and less evolved. It really instead is a lighting up of recognition of, oh, yeah, this is still really relevant to me. And I'll give you a very personal real-time example of this in case it's helpful. Um, gosh, it even feels edgy to share this on the podcast. I don't know if I have already, but basically, it's very much on my heart to write a book. My clients know this. Like, it's something that is an alive desire for me after years of being like, yeah, we'll get to that at some point. That desire is now feeling like it's more front and center. And in full transparency, it's been hard for me to prioritize it this year. And I'm realizing, ooh, maybe I don't do another big live event next year because I need space to really focus on this project. And so I'm kind of reevaluating my priorities and seeing what needs to happen for me to be like fully committed to this thing. So I'm like, okay, maybe I have started writing my book, but I'm like, maybe I'm going to consistently pour into it after this year's live event. And then that'll be the priority for the year. And I kind of came to terms with that within myself. But I'll tell you what, yesterday I saw someone be like, oh, I listened to this podcast and they had a book, the person on the podcast, and I was so inspired by the podcast, I bought the book right away. And I had that twinge of like, dang it, like, I want that to be me. Like, I want you to be ordering my book because I really believe in this work and I want to get it out to more women. And I know the impact that books have on people. And like, I want that to be me. Right. So it was fascinating to feel that immediate reaction within myself yesterday of like, oh, yeah, I told myself that I would be okay with sidelining this project for a few months, but ooh, let this moment be a reminder of how important this actually is to me. And maybe I don't want to put it off. Maybe I need to find a way to expand my capacity right now and reprioritize things in real time to bring it back into the fold because that knee-jerk reaction I had of like a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of like, I see the impact and it bothers me that this is not something that I'm currently moving on. That reinvigorated me because it's easy to be like, yeah, I'll just get to it later. We talk a lot about how that shows up in dating. I'll date when summer is done. I'll date when work gets less busy. I'll date when my, kid goes back to school in the fall or whatever. But when you have that twinge of desire, jealousy, whatever it may be, that rub of, ooh, someone has something that I want, it brings it back into focus. And we're like, oh, yeah, I'm on the right track. This is something that needs to stay front and center because my soul, my heart is showing me that this is the right direction for me. And if I push it off, if I talk myself out of it, if I deprioritize it, then the next time I get activated by someone else having the thing I want, it's going to probably be even more uncomfortable because I then have to reconcile the fact that I'm not doing everything within my power to move myself closer to having it myself. So, anyway, just wanted to kind of share, like, really transparently, vulnerably behind the scenes of like, I'm walking the same path with you right now of what I'm talking about here. And rather than getting upset with myself for being triggered again, it's like, oh, right, this is pointing me in the direction of my desire. And I can be grateful that my body is giving me that feedback because it's showing me things that my mind wants to push away. My mind wants to rationalize why I can't have this thing right now. But in reality, my body is communicating that it is more important than perhaps I've allowed myself to own. And so if that's the case, what am I going to do with that information? Like it's time to kind of rise to the plate and make things happen and really show myself that I'm capable of more than I previously allowed myself to own. So take that as you will. But what all of this illustrates, I believe, is that there is an identity lag. So your heart starts reaching for a new life. Like your heart is like, we're ready, girl, let's go. And your identity doesn't yet know how to settle there. So your heart is giving you that feedback, and then your identity is still stuck in, well, I'm the woman that gets overlooked, or I'm the one who always almost gets chosen, or, love works for other people, or I'm probably just going to settle, or I guess I would be fine being single for the rest of my life. And so you can see that there's that internal conflict. And I just shared what this looks like for me specifically. So, although you have that immediate moment of recognition with that activation, that trigger moment, your identity doesn't just disappear overnight. So you can end up feeling like you're kind of teetering between these two versions of yourself. One version that feels familiar, that is operating in old beliefs, and then this other version that is trying to nudge you towards expansion and ultimate truth. And it can feel really uncomfortable to be teetering between those two spaces, but it's also where you get to create really deep transformation for yourself. So, to take this a layer deeper, coming back to the example of seeing an engagement announcement, it's just an announcement, it's just a photo, right? But your nervous system, your attraction blueprint is creating the meaning to say, oh my gosh, I'm behind. I've missed my chance. There must be something wrong with me. That woman is more lovable. She's more attractive. She's younger, whatever it is. None of those stories are connected to the image, but they connect and they exist within your attraction blueprint that you've been operating from. So when you can tease that out and be like, oh, what is the meaning I am making out of this activation, out of this feeling? And again, to remember that your trigger is pointing towards your desire. So I know triggers are very uncomfortable, and we do everything we can in our power to shut it down and move on and like just act like that didn't happen. But I want you to get to a place where you can hang out in the discomfort a little bit longer so that you're not trying to stuff things down and just rush over the gold that's waiting for you there. But to see, like, underneath this trigger is probably a desire that I've yet to allow myself to fully admit the depth of how much I want it. So I want you next time you feel activated to get curious about what is the real message here for me. If I can like sift out all of the layers that my ego wants to bring up right away of all the reasons why this doesn't get to happen for me, and you're like, okay, yeah. Moving that aside, what else is here for me to understand? And you might have that kind of percolating desire bubble up of like, gosh, I still really want this. Like I was trying to tell myself that, I would be okay if it didn't happen. And, maybe I would circle back to dating later, but gosh, like I really, really want this. And if you can own that and take that as the deeper truth below anything your mind is going to try to convince you of, any kind of excuse, any type of rationalizing, any type of minimizing, it is going to point you in the right direction that is coming from a very true place. And I think one of the biggest mistakes we make as women is expecting expansion to feel comfortable. I want you to think about a previous time where you've really grown and how uncomfortable it was. Maybe you started a business, you started a family, you moved to a new city, you went to college, you got a degree, you earned a promotion, you became a leader. Whatever you've navigated, you've had to step into a new version of yourself. You've had to demonstrate in real time new skills, new ways to hold challenges, new ways to develop yourself, right? And love is no different. So there is always a season where your future feels more real than your past, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, I can sense what is ahead for me. I can sense that this is possible for me. But your attraction blueprint is going to keep wanting to pull you back into what is familiar. And when you can see it for what it is, you're able to not get caught up in those old habitual thoughts and patterns and instead stay in a place of curiosity. So again, next time you're activated, rather than asking what's wrong with me, I want you to ask, what story am I making this mean? What desire is under this feeling? Which version of me is speaking right now? And is this an identity that has been habituated for years, or am I stretching into something new and unfamiliar that, of course, is going to have a level of discomfort around it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything wrong here. So, I just want to own as well. Like, I still get triggered, clearly. There are things that, pop up for me where I'm like, huh, why does it seem so easy for her and it's challenging for me? But I know that when I get into that state of separation, it really is an illusion because my ego wants to find any reason to keep me in homeostasis and risk any sense of threat. Growth equals a threat. So if I can create distance and I can say, well, it's easier for her because X, Y, and Z. And that's just not possible for me. So I guess that's just how it is. And that's all. Right. Then my mind can try to kind of rest in that rationalization. But the thing is, with love, especially, it is such an innate wiring for us to be in partnership that we can try to just come to this place of like, I think I'm too broken, I'm too flawed, I don't know who would want me, it's too late, I'm too old, whatever. And that will satisfy our ego enough where we can just try to settle into our life and like, that's all. But our heart and our soul knows better. And I have found that no woman is ultimately fulfilled by buying into her excuses long term and calling that her fate. Okay, so this is an invitation for you in those inevitable moments of activation, of trigger, to wake yourself up and pattern interrupt the very tempting, alluring voice in your head that's going to want to come up with all of these reasons why she gets to have it and you don't. And for you to really see that for what it is. Oh my gosh, part of me is trying to protect myself because if I eliminated those excuses, if I didn't buy into those stories anymore, then I would really have to reconcile the ways in which I have to step forward because there's nothing left to point to say, oh, this is why I don't have to go after it anymore. That's confronting, but it can also be really empowering to be like, okay, I've eliminated all my excuses. I literally have no justification to hold myself back anymore. What a gift. Now, what am I going to do with this? And this is where coaching, mentoring, having a community in your corner can be really, really essential because you're trying to move yourself out of homeostasis and everything in your body subconsciously is going to want to pull you back. So to be in an environment that is normalizing the things that you want to have, that is helping you sustainably move into that next level identity is really key. This is why I'm always in coaching and community spaces. And I think why my clients sign on year after year because the environment you're around really normalizes for yourself what you expect to receive, what you are willing to tolerate. And why not make a challenging growth journey just much easier on yourself by being around other women who are also on the same path that can give you shortcuts and tools and support and sisterhood and all that beautiful stuff. So, anyway, I want you to just keep asking yourself, who am I becoming? What is this desire trying to teach me? Is there a gift in this trigger? And then what am I going to do with this information, right? If I uncover what this deeper desire is, now what? And if you feel like you could use some extra coaching and support and community, you know where to find me. All of the things are in the show notes. And before we wrap, just a general reminder that we are doing a 500K podcast party. So get on my list so that you get email notifications about the party and have all the details you need to join us because I would really, really love to see you there. And you can get on my list by signing up for the Attraction Blueprint mini assessment, 2-minute quiz. That's in the show notes. But like I said, you can connect on social, be in touch however you want to be. And thank you so much for listening. Until next time, keep shining your love light and bye for now.